His Excellency Minister of Economy, Dr. Diagna, His Excellency Minister of Finance, Dr. Dia. The names are very confusing. Everything is Dia. Not sure what it's about in Senegal. Honorable members of parliament from national assemblies from across the continent, Honorable Kanyisile Shabalala Lynchfield, Chair of the African Philanthropy Network on Illicit Financial Flows and Tax, heads of civil society organizations from Africa and internationally, our Executive Director for Trust Africa, Ibram So, who's also a partner in the Stop Bleeding campaign, but also part of our co-organizers for this AfCoDD 3. Dauda, who you've listened to here again, Executive Director for AfriCatalyst, partner as well in this AfCoDD, comrades from civil society, members of the media, partners and friends of AFRODAD, my fellow trustees of the AFRODAD board, which I proudly lead, and lastly, I think our funders who have made it possible for us to be here and also supporting the good work that AFRODAD is doing. Lastly, I think I would like to really give a round of applause to dear Jason. He is not only a leader of AFRODAD, but I think he's also driving change in the continent around debt and development. So it's not to make you feel important, but just to recognize that you are driving change, Jason. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And we just want to welcome those people who are also joining us online. We hope that you can withstand being online for a long time. So I would like to say bonjour, bon dia, habari, asibui, and my own Maokabwanji, and good morning. It is my distinct and humble pleasure to welcome you all to this AfCoDD 3 here in Senegal, together with our amazing hosts, Trust Africa and also AfriCatalyst. This phrase they used, both of them, teranga, despite the heat, we can feel the hospitality, I can tell you that. It feels like I could stay here forever. It's just beautiful. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Well, what can I say? It's exactly 1 year since we met in Lilongwe for our second AfCoDD. And we talked about a deep fractured global world order that is not fit for purpose for Africa, and that needs dismantling. And I think that's the phrase I used last time. And this time around, I don't think that it's actually a global world order. It is a global disorder. We are in a world where there's no order, actually. So why call it a global world order if we're in disarray? And this sentiment is still very much alive and accurate now, as you hear from the many participants in this conference. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have moved from a multiple crisis order to what Antonio Guterres is calling a poly-crisis order. In reading in the newspapers, it does feel like that. Since AfCoDD last year, 5 countries have formally defaulted on their national debt and applied to the G20's common framework to resolve the debt crisis. These countries are Zambia, my own beloved country. We have Ghana, Chad, Ethiopia, and Sri Lanka. You'll notice that 4 of the 5 countries I've listed are from our beloved continent. Zambia finally is arriving at a partial deal after 2 years of negotiations with those who are in part the reason for their debt crisis. Comrades and friends, across the continent, several countries are beginning to show similar symptoms that indicate either defaulting or needing to apply to the G20 common framework. This situation is graver than what meets the eye. Africa's debt burden is directly becoming a burden on Africans who are having to pay the price both for irresponsible borrowing and equally irresponsible lending. Yet, despite the debt burden, institutions like the IMF continues to provide loans under the disguise of highly concessional loans to our African governments. Africa is caught in a debt trap. In fact, we are distressed. And it extends beyond contraction in fiscal policy space. Africa is trapped in a low productive capacity, a capacity trap that is entrenched by neoliberal economic order that blocks an attempt for Africa to produce and transform its economies in manufacturing and industrial hubs for global production. In a world that is characterized by a polycrisis mode of operation, an extractive development model, and a hegemonic global economic governance, there remains little for Africa and her people to succeed. I mean, this sounds quite gloomy, but I think that the theme of the AfCoDD 3 is timely, and I'm hoping that the 4 R's, reimagine, rethink, reorganize, and remobilize for African world order, will help us to reset where Africa should be going. So in fact, I would add the 5th R, which is resetting. If you recall, COVID forced all of us to reset the world. Why can't we do that for Africa's economy? We can begin to reset the economy. Whatever system they use, not that I'm advocating for COVID to come back, but whatever system and tactics they used to give us COVID, to reset the world, is what we should be advocating for Africa to reset its economy. And the 4 R's really, for us to realize the 4 R's would require that we begin to look inward, have internal introspection of our dynamics within the continent in a very systematic, coordinated, and coherent manner. And this requires that we really take a step back and look into the continent from outside in the same way that our development partners look at it. What is it that they see that we can't see? And I'm not convinced that we do not see and not know Africa's worth as a continent. What I think that we are struggling with is how to disentangle ourselves from a system that has locked us. In fact, I liken it to a bad civil marriage. You're locked in a marriage of inconvenience and you can't come out of it because you're getting bits and pieces of it, but it's not exactly what you want. So what this reimagining, reorganizing, and rethinking would require is that we need to disentangle ourselves from this marriage of oppression, exploitation, and inequality. And I just want to recognize that the solidarity among African states and societies has sustained the campaigns against colonialism and apartheid in the 20th century. And I think the same tactics that were used there can also be deployed for us to transform our continent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, without giving too much away about AfCoDD 3, you can probably tell about my excitement. I want to urge all of you to really put up your thinking hats and deliberate in the political economy analysis of this broken down system, the global world disorder, I call it, and ensure that we are open-minded about the alternatives to our macroeconomic frameworks and framing our solutions. Yes, I do agree with Ibrahim that African solutions may not be sufficient, but I think starting from there and recognizing that we alone can emancipate ourselves from this mental slavery that Bob Marley said, I think is a first step before we begin to look outside for solutions. We therefore must push full stream ahead with making Africa a rule maker, not a rule taker. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, comrades, friends, I welcome you to AfCoDD 3. Asante sana, merci beaucoup, obrigada. Thank you so much.